Are you like us? Tired of all the politically correct horseshit on podcasts and in the media? Need a podcast that's funny, smart, and gassy? It's not politically correct. It's just correct. This is the Carolina Underground. Throw that middle finger in the air. Raise them up. Because it's time to get loud, proud, and in your face. Generation X. Generation X. The best generation of all time meets the grit of the South. It's about everything and nothing at all. From current events to woolly boogers to movies to politics. Loud, brash, funny, and never, and I do mean never, predictable. The Carolina Underground with Mark and Mike.
Yo, 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 yo! Welcome back to the Carolina Underground as we coming to you live from the replica Batcave with my partner in high crimes and misdemeanors, hiding and getting jiggy with it in the depths of Sparkleberry.
Now, I don't know about getting jiggy with anything. I've just lost an entire week because of whatever variant of flu is going on out here. So I don't believe I'm getting much jiggy with anything. So,
well, today's a bad day.
Uh-oh.
You know, Doge and Elon Musk and all that. I'm now unemployed.
What?
Yep, they took away a $100 million grant to discover how many licks it took to get to the center of a Tootsie Roll pop.
No, I hear you, man. And so, you know, some of the Democrats barged into the EPA, and they're talking about shutting down the government. And now, so I've heard two things. First off, about Doge. Popularly, people tend to call it Doge, but from what I understand, it was supposed to be Doggy.
Well, potato, little Dan Quayle action going on.
No, yeah, no doubt. But I mean, so again, here we are. The Democrats are apoplectic. The mainstream lying media is apoplectic, and they're all making all of these claims about how terrible everything is. We're only 3 weeks into this administration, and Doge or Doggy, whatever you want to call it, has already uncovered $100 billion, that's with a B, dollars worth of corruption. And
that just miraculously kind of circle back into the pockets of the people that are in the Senate and the House.
Right. And of course, it's all that screaming about the same. Well, a lot of it, I mean, again, is going to, we never could quite understand how when, during the last Trump administration, when we shut off funding to Al Qaeda and Hamas, they were still getting money from somewhere, but it was all going through USAID. And again, a lot of this money has been used by Soros to put his puppets in place and stuff like that. So, and all of the screaming and hand wringing about Doge. Again, Doge doesn't actually. All Doge is doing is performing the act of auditing these agencies that have not been audited for a long time. And he's finding things like they're not completely filling out the forms to tell people where the money are going. So it's like the comment field where it's like, where's this money going and why is it going there and under what Senate or what congressional appropriation is this money going? They're leaving them blank. So they're just
they're just filling it in later and saying that we'll pass the law later.
Well, no, they're not filling it in at all and just giving the money to people, and that's why you can say, well, we don't have any idea where that $40 billion went or that $30 billion. And of course, they've cut billions of dollars of DEI programs and stuff like that. So, there is a definite blow against racism right there. So
what I find interesting is, so the way the courts are handling this now, it looks like you can't fire anybody that has a job with the government.
Right. Well, that's the way that they act. And again, that's where they create most of the jobs that, I mean, that's the only way that the government can actually create a
Well, it's
job.
like it's like USA AID.
Hmm.
They can't get rid of them.
Yeah.
The court's already said they can't put them on leave.
Hmm.
Well, exactly, if they did what they did at USAID in the real world, it would be called going to prison for embezzlement.
No, absolutely. But again, I don't recall, somebody's going to have to point out to me the amendment that creates USAID.
USAID was created by a presidential executive order by John F. Kennedy.
That's what I thought. Okay. So there's no amendment that says I mean, that's not a, it's not a legitimate portion of the government. It can
Well,
immediately be cut.
I think it got canonized later on by some law that Congress passed, like in the '90s or something. But
All right. Well,
it was initially put into place by a presidential executive order by John F. Kennedy.
but that's awfully damn convenient to create a bureaucracy or a bunch of bureaucrats that can't be fired.
Well, I don't understand why why if you work for the government can't you be fired? You can be fired from anywhere.
Yeah, exactly. You should be able to be fired from anywhere, especially from the government. And especially if you're doing as piss poor of a job as these people are doing, being stewards of our
Well,
tax
I mean, the
dollars.
last few times they shut down, most of the people couldn't tell any difference. So that tells you right now, 3/4 of the people you don't need in the first place.
Well, and again, the Democrats are the ones that always get apoplectic about potential government shutdowns and threats to democracy and all of this stuff whenever the Republicans try to rein in their ridiculous overspending. But now they're going to shut down, they want to shut down the government to prevent Doge from being able to, I forget which agency it is. Doggone it, it just went out of my head.
The Treasury was
Yeah,
the
the
last.
Department of Treasury. Right. They're trying to prevent them from auditing the Department of Treasury. Of all the places you want audited,
Well,
that,
truthfully, the Treasury, but the one I'm more interested in is the Pentagon
yeah, and
and
that's
the
going to happen too.
IRS.
Yeah, yeah. No, I agree. Absolutely. The IRS has had it coming for quite some time. You know how, I mean, I forget the percentage, but there's a huge percentage of IRS agents that owe back taxes.
Well, then there's 86,000 armed ones that supposedly are supposed to be getting laid off and redeployed at the border.
Oh, now that's an interesting thought. I hadn't heard
Well,
about that
Trump
one.
had said something about the ones, they hired 86,000 armed IRS agents.
Hmm. Hmm.
He was going to put them down at the border. The
Well,
last was one of the things I heard.
and hiring armed IRS agents makes a lot more sense to me than an unarmed IRS agent because how would you type if you didn't have any arms?
Well, that's true. You could do dragon speak,
Well, there you go.
but it may not translate into from English to asshole because that's probably what the IRS uses.
Yeah, there's a lot of that. But I mean, again, and again, I've started telling everybody that asks me what my opinion is, ask me again in June and I'll tell you then because I mean this stuff just started. I'm astounded by the amount of things that they've gotten done already.
Donald Trump has
Mhm.
gotten more news coverage in 3 weeks
Oh my
than Joe
God, yes.
Biden got in 4 years.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, again, they were trying to hide him because he was incontinent for one thing and always embarrassing himself and he couldn't walk. And I mean, again, that whole thing
Now wait a
was
minute. Now,
absolutely
hey,
elder abuse. Go ahead.
but he now has an agent. He's got a talent agent. He's going to be in the movies.
Oh, you've got to be kidding me. I had
No, he
not heard
signed
this.
with a talent. He's got an agent. He signed with a agency, and I bet you can't guess where they're at.
In China.
California.
Oh, California. Yeah. Okay.
That,
Well,
that's China of the northern
yeah.
hemisphere.
It's China East. Yeah. China West. Right. Fair enough. Well, it depends on which way you're pointed, I reckon. I mean, if you're standing
Well,
in
and
Hawaii.
there was a lady. I caught the tail end of a interview.
Mhm.
It was a Chinese or Oriental looking Asian lady that had worked in the Biden administration.
Okay.
She lives in Washington or Philadelphia.
Hmm.
She lives down the street from Joe Biden's daughter,
Okay. The
and
one, the one he
she
molested repeatedly in the shower as a child, right?
well, I don't know about that. I can't speak to that, but
Well, that was in her diary. Mhm.
she did pretty much say that she had heard from her that the cocaine found in the White House was more than likely Hunter's, and when Hunter kept saying he was sober, he was not sober.
Oh no, yeah. I mean,
Of course,
the
we already knew that anyway.
the sad thing about addicts, and especially heroin addicts, is that, from what I understand, so what heroin and opiates do is they flood, your pain receptors. Okay.
Hmm.
And what your brain does in response to that is it builds more pain receptors to accept, take up those hormones because of the abundance of them. And so you reach a point where you can't, and this is my understanding from what I studied, about addiction. But you reach a point and you hear them say, well, I'm just trying to get normal. They
Hmm.
have to have an increased level of those hormones in their brain because of the number of additional receptors that they've created in order to feel at the level of what felt normal to them as a person in the first place, which is why it's so hard for them to get off of that stuff. And so it's an unfortunate thing, but it just absolutely ruins their brain. And for them to ever get off of that is, and I think cocaine does some similar stuff.
Hmm.
You just can't ever get you can't ever undo those additional receptors in your brain. So you're going to feel worse for the rest of your life when you try to get off of that stuff. At least that's my understanding. And so I do hate that for them, but it was their own choices that got them there. So at the
Right,
same time,
and case in point,
mhm,
there are success stories that show that you can get out of it
you can,
because
yes.
Bobby
Mhm.
Kennedy Jr. was a heroin addict.
Right. And yeah, again, it is possible. It requires a significant amount of discipline and learning coping skills. So, and it, I do very much understand that, addiction is a disease. And I've also brought forth my opinion on multiple occasions that we currently have a worldwide epidemic of electronic addiction as well. And, that's something that at some point we're going to have to figure out how to address because it's not leading us to a good place.
It's not because my
Yeah.
car even has its own phone number.
Oh, I know. I mean, it's insane. It is utterly insane.
It
Oh,
totally surprised me. I didn't realize that they were giving them. I know we had to give them to children's, but I didn't know
hmm.
we had to give them to our cars.
Well, and again, what's the next step? I mean, is your car going to call you? Or are you going to call your car to come
Actually,
pick
it
me up?
does.
Yeah.
If it ain't where it's supposed to be, it tells me,
Oh, gee. Well, no,
and
that's
I'm
not a
like,
bad thing, I guess.
well, it is not. But I mean, look, I'm a practical person.
Hmm.
I'm fat. I'm a redneck. I'm Southern. I believe in doing it pioneer with days, baby. I do it the old fashioned way. If my car ain't where I parked it when I look out the window, I know it's somewhere else.
Well, it's sort of like the old weather rock.
Yeah.
Okay. If the rock's wet, it's raining. If
Right.
the
If it's
rocks,
white,
if, yep,
that snowed.
it's, and if
Either
it's
that or somebody's cutting lines of cocaine.
right, and if rocks gone, it's a hurricane or a tornado. Go down to the root cellar.
Yep, that's exactly right. I mean, what else you gonna do? I mean, it's just you keep at some point you keep adding all this garbage on there. The vehicle I bought
Hmm.
in part was chosen because it's one of the last ones that has a naturally aspirated engine in it.
Oh wow, that's interesting.
And it's like I don't want all of this stuff with these turbochargers and all of that. It's something else to break and go bad.
Well, and that's the intent. And again, because they've, again, the model that everybody wants is the unending subscription model, and by everybody I mean the monopolies that we've allowed to be created. You know, the internet monopoly where you pay constantly, and we pay more than any other developed nation for worse internet service, by the way. That's the model, but they want that same model for your printer, which is why they have all of these that, oh, well, we'll tell you when you need to buy more ink
Hmm.
and you can only get it from us, and your dishwasher and your refrigerator. And of course, they've got the laws set up so that the aftermarket manufacturers can't make parts for it. So it costs more money to repair the things than it does. And of course, if you ever did try, if you ever worked on a modern car, they're designed for ease of assembly on the assembly line, not
Right.
for repair. So
Yeah, they
you
well
gotta,
they didn't even consult somebody that's
right.
going to have to work on it in the end when it comes time to work
Well,
on it when they're making it.
because they don't want you to work on it. They don't want you to repair anything. That was one of the big hallmarks of the South that occurred at the, after the end of the Civil War, is reusing and, old things. You never threw anything away. Waste not, want not, because whatever you
Hey,
had that was
that's the
broken.
story of my life.
Yeah.
At the paths around here in the replica Batcave, I got garbage garbage bags full of plastic shopping bags because you don't never know when you're gonna need them.
Well, I mean, that's the whole point. You never know when you're going to, you can take things, and I'm terrible about this. I am a pack rat. I'm not I'm borderline hoarding, but I can't throw things away because I look at them, and I mean, I can weld, and an engineer. I'm an engineer. I can't spell it, but R1, and
Hmm.
so everything I've got, when it breaks, I look at it and I'm like, well, I can use this for this and that for that, and it's stuff I don't have to buy. But yeah, I have let it kind of get out of hand, and I got to do a spraying cleaning around the house here to get rid of some of that stuff.
You know,
But
one thing that has really irks me
all right,
is, and I enjoy. I'm one of those ones that have a screen addiction to devices,
oh yeah,
particularly cell phone. Enjoy social media.
hmm
However, there is a caveat to that. I like looking and see my social media of choice is Instagram.
hmm
I just like seeing the pictures that people post of where they are, animals, stuff like that.
hmm
If your life is so tied up that you have every 15 minutes or so you have to post about how you don't know how you're going to survive because Donald Trump's president or Republicans are in the Congress or Republicans are in the Senate. You know, if you are constantly that triggered,
hmm
you've got problems.
oh yeah, no.
I don't think about this stuff 3/4 of the time.
Well, if you can look into your drawers and you see parts or a lack of parts that you feel you ought to have, and you say, well, God made a mistake, you got problems too.
I agree with that too.
Okay. So, I mean, I'm sorry, but reality exists regardless of how you feel about it. And, and the fact of the matter is the government has gotten way out of control and it needs to be brought to heel. And it's going to be interesting to me to see what they're going to do next. But again, I mean, I hadn't heard the bit about not being able to fire these people from USAID.
Yeah,
Uh,
court stopped him from laying them off.
well, they'll have to take it to, well, again, but now that was in the the circuit court, the DC circuit, right?
Oh, I'm not sure. I just saw the headline that a court had said that they couldn't lay them off.
Well, there's not a conservative justice that's been appointed to the DC circuit. There's none of them. There are zero. So that's going to have to go to the
But
Supreme
see, and
Court.
but that goes hand in hand with part of the problem.
Well, yeah,
A judge should not be neither Democrat nor Republican.
right. And they should, and again, they're not supposed to legislate from the bench, but that's, the
But
Democrats
they
have been doing
do.
that.
That's part of the problem.
The Democrats have been doing that since the 70s. That's kind of when I think the idea occurred to them that they could do it, but they've been
Hmm.
doing that since the 70s. And it just that so again, they've got to be brought to heel. And
Well,
that just due to the fact that they're so apoplectic about everything that's going on, I think it's probably digging significantly deeper than any of us realize yet. And I sincerely hope that people are paying attention to this and not digging their heels in, like they're watching the Super Bowl. So,
the Justice Department has ordered New York to drop the prosecution of Mayor Eric Adams.
well, okay, that's good, I
Oh
think.
yeah,
Well, because they were prosecuting him because he had the audacity to speak the truth that there were too many illegals and it was costing them too much money. Yeah, he went
yeah.
against the
Well,
narrative.
but it's amazing how we don't have FEMA money, and then they found that they spent like $154 million to house illegals in hotels since it was deemed illegal.
Yep, yep, absolutely. So yeah, again, it's a big
And
old mess.
USAID has reportedly bankrolled Al Qaeda terrorist college tuition,
Yep, and
paid
LGBT
for paid for
LGBT.
Chelsea Clinton's wedding.
Well, now that one's a new one I didn't know about. That one I
Yeah,
didn't know
that
about.
one came out and said that Chelsea Clinton has the meals that for whatever charity she works for.
Hmm.
The average cost of dispersed meals that she got from USAID is over $1,000 a meal.
I tell you what, that's an
But
expensive
what do you
sandwich.
expect from a
Yeah.
Clinton? But
Well, and again, these people, I mean, that was the thing, and I believe I've actually said that before too, that, the whole thing about it all depends on how you read government of the people, by the people, and for the people. You got to be careful which people you're talking about because the Democrats consider that, well, most of the federal government considers that to be the elitists, the
hmm
people who think they're better than you and me because at some point in antiquity, somebody managed to get away with something and squirrel away a bunch of money that didn't belong to them.
well, that's
So,
always the way it works.
oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And again, I can't fault them to a degree because we let them get away with it for so damn long. But again, it's one of those things, from my perspective, I was busy raising three kids and trying to keep a roof over my own head, much less theirs, for many years. And I didn't have time to watch everything. I had to rely on the lying lamestream media to tell me the truth, and they weren't. I mean, I knew they weren't, but they weren't,
Right.
I mean, I
Well,
didn't have
and
time to go find out about it, but go ahead.
well, on that Clinton story, Snopes comes out and says, "Oh, well, of course, you can't trust Snopes either."
Yeah.
It says that, of course, obviously, the Clinton Chelsea Clinton didn't get $84 million or something like that. But then you think about it, and you look at her age
Hmm.
and her job resume and her job history. Well, then how did she pay for a $10 million house? How did she have a $3 million wedding?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because if she's not corrupt, we know her mama and daddy are.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
And the
Absolutely.
last time I checked, it's okay for people to want to come out and say people raped them and dragged Trump through court. And if
Hmm.
he sexually assaulted that woman, you know what? Then he should be punished for that. I agree
No,
with
I
that
agree.
100%.
Absolutely.
But we've got a woman that has DNA tests that claims Bill Clinton raped her,
Hmm.
and they won't nobody say a word to her.
No.
Nobody will even let her talk.
Well, I mean, and that's true across the board. The Democrats have numerous instances of people that have just I mean, again, there's an entire slush fund of money that goes to to pay the hush money off for people that bring allegations of misconduct against
Mm-hmm.
congressional people, congressmen and senators. And
Mm-hmm.
again, it's one of those, there's nothing to see here. You just move on along because the media
Mm-hmm.
won't cover it because they're in collusion with the with the people with the criminals, okay,
Right.
that are running everything. So, it's just it's a mess, and again, I'm still sitting here waiting for the other shoe to drop with people like Lindsey Graham. Okay. I mean, he has shown his true colors during the Biden administration, and he
Mm-hmm.
really has not been. I mean, he's been a rhino from day one, and I just want to see what happens because again, Trump is, the Trump has assembled a large number of patriots to try and save the country. I think I've heard good things from Pam Bondi, Pete Hegseth, and on and on. And I
Mm-hmm.
saw Christy Nome talking a little bit today, and good things from her. And but again, this stuff has been so deeply entrenched for so long, and it has been so corrupt for so long. I just wonder if how much are they going to be able to do in 4 years? Now, the fact that they're actually moving forward as hard as they can go and as fast as they can go, that's a pleasant thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, they may be able to, and they undid a lot during the first Trump administration, despite all of the lawfare and impeachments and Russia, and all of that other nonsense, they still managed to put a pretty significant hitch in the get along of I'm going to have to call it the Obama Biden criminal enterprise.
Well,
Um,
it's more Obama. Obama wanted a third term. He
oh,
had to
yeah.
get an idiot or a puppet that he can control. And obviously, we get brain dead Joe Biden and Jill Biden.
Well, he intended to have a third and a fourth term. So, and again, the other thing that we're going to have to contend with is the WHO and the World Economic Forum, the WEF, and all of those
Mm-hmm.
nut jobs from around the world. But I think the fact that we're cutting, hundreds of
Well,
billions of
and the
dollars
funny
out of
thing
their coffers
is
is going to help.
all of these organizations that tell us that what we're doing is wrong,
Yeah,
we're paying for it.
right.
So as soon as the spigot is cut off,
Hmm.
they'll wither on the vine and die because who's going to pay for it? Europe?
Well, yeah.
Europe ain't going to pay for nothing because they can't eat. They're so far behind in their NATO dues that
Mhm.
they owe us from now to the end of the time.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I mean, again, that's, I don't know. I'm tired of talking about this. So, I
Well, you
heard the
brought
other
it up.
day, I heard the other day that, one of those things that was kind of interesting. I heard the other day, so that, diabetes,
Hmm.
where and
I
we're
used to
talking
love, what was
Wilford
that?
Brimley.
Wilford Brimley.
Yep. My
And the funny
diabetes.
thing is he really wasn't that old when he was doing those commercials.
Oh, I know. But, it comes from, Neanderthal DNA.
Oh, or there was an article something about
Hmm.
Neanderthal DNA in our brains.
Well, and so again, Neanderthal, the whole reason that Homo sapien sapien wound up being which is us, for those that don't know,
Hmm.
managed to or we survived where all the other hominids like the Denisovans and the Neanderthals went extinct is
Hmm.
because we couldn't keep our britches zipped, and we kind of mated with all of them. So depending on where you're from, you have, determines how much Neanderthal DNA you've got in
We
your
was
system.
all little floozies, is what you're saying.
That's what I'm saying. We could not keep and of course you see that today, and we still can't keep our britches zipped as much as we ought to. But yeah, we kind of screwed them all out of existence, and but yeah, that's one of them, and that was one of the whole thing that started this was there was a book, and I need to get the book and actually read it because I only read a couple of excerpts out of it.
Hmm.
That there are over 200 genetic sequences in human DNA that are not replicated in any other creature on the planet that we know of. Okay. And, that's one of and then there were some other things in there. Basically, the whole thing they were bringing forth was that, human beings, we kind of don't necessarily belong on the planet like all the other critters do,
Hmm.
because the sun gives us skin cancer, the sun gives us cataracts, it gives us sunburns. So you know, that other animals, don't have that problem and whatnot. Now, again, other animals have fur typically or scales
Hmm.
to prevent that. But it would seem like if we as humans had been here the same, I mean, chimpanzees don't get a sunburn, gorillas don't get a sunburn, uh, and they got parts of their
Well,
skin that are out in
actually,
the
though,
sun.
I think though they do. I know dogs get sunburn.
Well, if you skin them,
Well, no, like they can get sunburn. Like if you keep their one of the things that we have gotten into the habit of doing is grooming dogs, cutting their
right?
hair and stuff. They can very much get sunburn.
Well, that's what I'm saying. If you cut too much of their hair off and whatnot, but I mean, again, it it takes a more extreme condition for them to have those problems than it does for us. Is the point? And so, if you pardon me, I'm going to have to call my apologies. Still getting over this case of the epizootics, but yeah, the point being that other species on the planet seem to be much more um, adapted to live on this planet than we are to a large degree. We tend to have to kind of we have to bend the planet more to our will in order to survive comfortably.
Well,
Whereas,
yeah, that's
they're okay.
because we're not from here.
Well, I mean, again, I don't know if we are or
I
not.
mean, ancient aliens said that we came from the sky.
But and there's and maybe we did, maybe we
I mean,
didn't.
well, if you think about it, though, there it makes a lot of sense.
No, I mean it makes pretty good sense. I mean the point of the matter is we're here now, and we got all kinds of things that should be that
So
are threatening our life. But go ahead,
I watched this movie the other night.
you did.
I did,
All
and
right,
it essentially was and I think I have mentioned it on here before. They found this round thing with a lot of writing in it in the desert in Egypt, right?
okay, yeah.
And they figured out how to turn it on and line it up.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yep, yep, yep,
Well, essentially, it opened a portal to another world somewhere else, like a wormhole to this other planet,
yep.
where Ra was there. And Ra had come here, but ended up taking slaves from here there, or from there here, or vice versa. And they were still there doing his bidding,
Right.
And it turns out he wasn't really, he was a god, but he wasn't as powerful as everybody thought, because it was just the technology
Yeah.
that his goons had that kept him in the position that he was in. And it's just, you think about it, there's, for example, you look at the the masonry technique on Easter Island and the masonry technique on Peru.
Mm, mm,
Saw an article about that this afternoon, and the way they were doing it, how they had big stones and then an inset little keystone in the middle
mm.
of the big stones. Well, it's the exactly same pattern in Peru that it
Oh yeah.
was on Easter Island. And Easter Island, if you hear tell it, nobody even knew it existed
Right.
until modern times.
Yeah, and that is kind of the point. You know, they're the supposedly the Egyptians built the pyramids with these massive stones, uh, 4,000 years before Christ was born,
Hmm.
and then it didn't build anything else after that.
Well,
They
that's cause
completely forgot how to.
that's
So,
cause they didn't know how to make McDonald's hamburgers or Kentucky Fried Chicken. We had to do it.
right, and again, they like the you know, the T structure, the T bar structures in Stonehenge and Göbekli Tepe and all of that stuff.
Hmm.
They built them the same way, where they had a section hollowed out and they had a smaller rock in there to hold it in place so that it
Hmm.
would survive earthquakes and things of that nature. So, I mean, again, you know, I am not under any circumstances saying that human beings could not have constructed these things, but they had an understanding of the natural world and of architecture that, you know, is pretty dadgum impressive to have
Well,
done the
I will
things that they
go on the
did.
record as saying, as human beings in the modern world, are too stupid to build it.
Well, you know, but we are in the past, I want to say 5,000 years, there has been a tremendous uptick in human intellectual capacity according to what I mean, this was something that I heard and I believe it was on tabloid TV of some sort, but there has been a tremendous increase in intelligence, supposedly. And I say that supposedly with kind of air quotes because we still have people that believe the mainstream media is telling them the truth,
Or that the earth is flat.
and people that believe the Earth is flat. But they, you know, I, again, we weren't necessarily too terribly bright there for a while. You just never know. But, you know, again, at the end of the day, as I was saying, we got so many different things that threaten all life on this planet. We really need to be looking at getting at least a subset of everything that we can off of the planet so that it can survive in the event that we have another life ending event, and, you know, a pole shift or any of the
Hmm.
other 8 billion things that are, you know, that there is a mathematical possibility, if not in some cases a probability of happening, that could wipe out all life. Or, and again, you know, the flood, we've got so much evidence that the flood happened that we may as well just accept it as fact. And a global cataclysmic flood that could cause the kind of destruction that we see evidence of worldwide, of course you'd be knocked all the way back to the Stone Age, because
Uh huh.
it would take so long to recover from that, you know. And then, you know, our tendency to be warlike and steal from one another, rather, you know, if you had the, you know, for example, if your neighbor was a survivalist or a prepper, you'd, you know, and you were starving, you'd go break into their house and kill them to get their food.
Well, that's true.
So that's what's going to happen to the people that are smart enough to prepare, sadly. But, you know, it is what it is. And, you know, the answer is maybe once Doge gets done cleaning up all the corruption, maybe we'll be able to
Hmm.
get focused on colonizing Mars. And I heard
Well,
today that there was a.
interesting.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. What was you? Yeah,
Well,
interesting enough. You know, the name of the person that um, Werner von Braun said would colonize Mars in 19 when he wrote the book in 1952 was Elon.
oh really? I didn't know that. That's
hmm
intriguing.
He wrote a science fiction novel called Project Mars,
Hmm.
and Elon is the name given to the elected leader of Mars.
Well, that's interesting, and
hmm
would certainly
And
like to
he
see that
and I
happen.
have seen not just ancient alien shows, because I'm fascinated with ancient aliens. I love watching
Hmm. Hmm.
that stuff and mysteries at the museum and stuff like that. But I
Oh yeah.
watched a documentary on Werner von Braun,
Hmm.
and there are multiple people that he told about how his advance in rocketry was not science, that he had help, meaning he was very much a believer in the aliens, because he's saying that's pretty much who got him to the leaps and bounds that he was able to take.
Well, and I can believe that, but again, you know that the Oppenheimer and
hmm
who was the father of the atomic bomb, most of his well, not most. I won't say most. I won't say how much because I don't know. But at least a significant portion of his discoveries were made by reading the Vedic texts.
hmm
Okay, that and he was, now I'm not this. This does not take away from the fact that the man was brilliant because he was smart enough to teach himself how to read Sanskrit. Okay, and so he read the original Sanskrit of the Vedic text, which described
hmm
the Vimanas and all of that
hmm
stuff, which had a significant amount about, atomics, nuclear theory. And,
hmm
again, these things were written, I think, 6000 BC or something like that.
That
And,
sounds about right, somewhere around in
yeah,
there. Yeah.
and how is it that they knew and then everybody forgot? I mean, something again.
Well,
We
it's
know
kind of like
things
you go
happen.
back to where you go out. There's that village that they've been unearthing, not Göbekli Tepe, but the other one,
Yeah, yeah, it's near it.
where,
Yeah, yeah. I
well,
think it starts with a K. Mhm.
where it looks like there's been a nuclear war,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
because of the
Mhm.
way the sand has been turned into glass, and the
Right.
temperatures that happen
Hmm.
is actually only capable on Earth by either a volcano, and there's no volcanoes there,
Right.
or nuclear explosion.
Yeah, there's also a castle in, I believe, Scotland that shows that sort of, that it essentially was melted somewhat.
hmm
And then there's a lot of stonework that looks like the stones were melted in order to form together more tightly. So again, the bottom line is that I firmly believe that there was a race of hominids of some sort that existed before the end of the Younger Dryas, and they knew stuff that we forgot for a long time.
Well,
So,
I would just say they still knew stuff that we still don't know yet.
and that's entirely possible. I mean, again, we've from the moment that and his name just went out of my mind. The father of modern archaeology who discovered
Indiana
Troy.
Jones.
No, the real one that actually discovered the city of Troy. Prior to his discovery of the city of Troy, no one, everybody looked at that as myth
Right.
and that there was
Well,
no
yeah, right,
truth to it.
right.
And then he discovered the bloody city of Troy. And, well, he actually didn't. He discovered one of the cities that was
Heinrich
built over,
Schulman.
yes, Schulman. And he did not discover Troy. He discovered one of the civilizations that was built over the ruins of Troy, but they eventually dug down deep enough where they found Troy
Right.
and everything matched up. But from that point forward, we've been proving that these oral traditions and mythologies, that there's tremendous amounts of truth that are
Hmm.
embedded in them, but you have to listen to
Right.
what's being said. So, well, and did you want to talk about the Super Bowl? Did you watch any of the Super Bowl?
I did not, surprisingly. I went to a party for it, but didn't watch a dad blame bit of it. I couldn't even tell you who played.
Well, you didn't have to watch if you I mean it was an absolute rout. Okay? I mean it
Hmm.
was Kansas City really did not do anything
Oh,
of
so the Kansas
consequence.
City was the red people. All
Yeah,
I knew is there because I had left my glasses at home, and
right.
I knew there was people in red and there was people in green, and
Hmm.
that's only I looked at the TV screen one time, and that's all that was.
Yeah, the Philadelphia Eagles and I actually was pulling for the Eagles, to be honest with you, but I started to feel bad about it until about halfway through the third quarter because they just beat Kansas City so badly.
Is that red team Kansas City? Isn't that the one Taylor Swift's boyfriend does
Yep,
something with?
yep.
Yeah, I'm glad they lost.
Well, and Taylor did not get a very pleasant reception from what I understand, but I
Oh,
really don't
really?
care. Yeah, they booed her when she was on the jumbotron, from what I
Oh,
understand, and they
but
applauded.
that's something that I can't. That's the Super Bowl, and just it's just stuff like that. I have a hard time getting my mind around paying exorbitant amounts of money for adults to play kids games.
No, I tend to agree, and I quit watching sports at all when they got all woke.
Well, I
And
will say this: the only sports I still watch
Mhm.
are our alma mater.
Oh, Florida, yeah.
I will watch them from time to time if I catch a ball game on, but either baseball or football. I've never been a big basketball fan.
Well, me either. And my problem, it's very painful to watch the Gators football because they have never been a four-quarter team. They've always been a three-quarter team.
Right.
And if they have not beaten you so senseless that there's no chance of a comeback in the fourth quarter, they basically put the cheerleaders on the field, and that's how they lose so many games. But, you know, it is what it is. But no, I always enjoyed watching football. Um,
But truthfully, the games just seem more interesting when we were there.
oh no, no doubt. But well, and so that's one of the things that I've got a personal issue with. So we are building a baseball stadium in Spartanburg, downtown Spartanburg, for a new baseball team, the Spartanburgers. Now, we still hadn't
Hmm.
fixed the dadgum potholes or the bridges or any of the infrastructure in this damn town.
Well, I'll tell you a little secret.
What's that?
It must be sister cities, cause High Point, which is the biggest city I'm closest to,
Hmm.
they just built a downtown baseball team or stadium and all this stuff, and there's the roads in High Point are garbage too.
Well, now, see, and here's my point. This is the same kind of nonsense that we were talking about with Doge. I mean, if you're going to use my tax dollars and everybody else's tax dollars to build this damn thing, fix the infrastructure first. You
Right.
gotta do the stuff that helps the people that are paying the taxes out before you do the stuff that helps out the good old boys that make up the power block.
Or the transvestites in Pakistan or
Oh yeah, absolutely. That was
all
$40
that good stuff.
billion, wasn't it? That was going to the
It was a lot.
transvestites. And
I just put it like that. It was enough that you and I and probably most of our families and everybody that they knew would never have to work again.
oh no, absolutely. Especially out there in places like Pakistan where
Well, I'm
the
gonna tell you a secret,
tell me a secret. Hit me.
and this way we're getting toward the short on time tonight.
All right.
Triple Goat Pecker Coffee has been retired.
Oh my goodness.
It's not that they quit making it.
All right.
I just have moved on.
All right. Where are you now?
I am drinking a coffee called Blackbeard's Delight.
Blackbeard's Delight. Okay.
It is made and roasted in the USA,
Mm-hmm.
and it is a flavor of the Black Rifle Coffee Company, which is better
okay.
known.
Yep. That is Black Rifle makes a really good bunch of coffees, and one of them that I've been fond of is called Death Wish.
Death Wish, yep. Death Wish is pretty good. This is a true dark. It's I had the first cup of it today. You get a very good mouthful, aftertaste of dark chocolate when you're drinking this coffee.
Outstanding.
It's pretty good.
Yeah. Well, congratulations.
But now that I'm unemployed, since USAID ain't giving out any money,
yep,
I have to get up tomorrow and look for a new job.
I'm so sorry for you.
I'm pretty good at finding fraud and waste too. Maybe I need to go and hit up Elon and get a job with Doge or Doge or
whatever they call it. Yeah.
I don't know if Doge. It reminds me. I did make up some poetry for my wife.
Oh, go for it, my friend.
I did. Well, I'm gonna tell it here at the end because most of the people will tune out by this time. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Roses are red. Tonight it's foggy. I can't wait to hump the shit out of you doing doggy.
Well, and of course, here's my contribution. Always remember, do not wait until you are on your deathbed to tell people around you how you really feel about them, because you may be too weak to raise your middle finger.
Amen to that. Hey, I'm gonna tell you one thing. We a genius. Well, that's what they asked me. The boy at work asked me the other day. He said, I was sitting there thinking about something, because you get to thinking, and the wheels ain't greased as they once did. That's why I gotta have coffee and other substances. But
if you make me laugh too hard, I'm gonna have to hack up another lug.
Don't hack up another lug. But he said they called me and says, "What are you doing?" And I said, "I'm doing what I always do. I'm sitting here geniusing." That's all I do is just sit here geniusing.
Excuse me. Sorry.
Well, it's time, boys and girls. We got to say adieu. My partner in high crimes and misdemeanors is going to have to be put back in his incubator so he can get better.
There you go.
Some rock and rye whiskey, baby. That'll burn it all out.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think I even got some. I may have to do that.
There you go. And with that, Mark's going to have a snootful. That's the snout to the curly tail. And the snootful's in between. And we go.
Y'all have a good night.
All right, you crazy bunch of motherfuckers. Wait. Can we say mother? Anyway, you've been listening to the Carolina Underground. It isn't politically correct, it's just correct. Our motto is, if you can't go balls deep, don't go at all. Actually, that's not our motto, and I'm sorry, I don't even know what that meant. All right, we gotta go. We hope you enjoyed the show. And if you didn't, we hope it really pissed you off. Follow us on Twitter at Carolina UNDGRND Underground, get it? Or drop us an email at Carolina UNDGRND, get it? At northstate.net. We want to hear from you. Y'all be cool. See you next time on Carolina Underground.